Joe, come in, have a seat. So how's your week going?
It's been going okay.
Great. So how have you been feeling this past week since I last seen you?
I guess I've been feeling somewhat down, but mostly anxious. I got an A on my math test this week, but my parents have been on my case. Doesn't seem like they care about the A at all. On top of that, Matt got his acceptance letter to Ohio State, and well, I haven't received any acceptance letters yet.
Okay, Joe, an A is awesome. But I can sense that you're feeling a little down and anxious. So can I take a look at your depression inventory and anxiety checklist to see how you feel your week was?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, when you were filling these out, were you thinking about your feelings today, or were you taking how you felt all week into consideration when you were filling them out?
I guess I was thinking about the entire week.
Yeah, it does seem to me, by looking at your checklist and inventory, that you've been feeling pretty anxious this week. Should we talk about that, and should that be on our agenda for this week?
Definitely. I've been feeling pretty anxious this week.
Okay, so feeling anxious. Okay, so you've been anxious this week. How has it been affecting your eating and your sleeping?
They have been okay, I guess. I had trouble trying to fall asleep a couple times this week. I would start feeling anxious about the next day, but then I tried using the controlled breathing and muscle relaxation techniques that we did last week in session, and it really helped me feel less anxious and able to fall asleep.
Good. I'm glad to hear that those techniques are working for you.
Yeah, it kind of made me feel better, probably because I got some sleep.
Okay, that is great. How about your eating?
It's going well since I started jogging. My appetite has increased.
Good. Anything else you think I should know or that we should put on the agenda for this week?
Well, my boyfriend and I had a fight this week. I was pretty upset about that. I guess I had trouble sleeping that night too. It was hard to get up for school the next morning, and well, I was late for school and my mom and dad were really getting on my case.
Okay. So you and your boyfriend had a fight, and your parents were getting on your case, and you were late for school. Should those all be on our checklist for this week?
Yeah, I guess.
Anything else going on this week that you want to talk about or you want me to help you with?
Well, the end of the school year is approaching, and I haven't received any acceptance letters for college yet. So, I don't know if I'm going to school or not. My parents have been putting a lot of pressure on me the past week about this. It's been a freaking nightmare at my house.
You know what, Joe? That sounds very frustrating. Do you think we need to put that on the agenda for this week?
Yes, definitely.
So, did anything else happen this week that's important or that you think that I should know about?
Matt and I got in a fight over the bathroom.
Okay, so you and Matt got into a fight. Do you think that that's something we need to discuss or that you need help with this week?
No, I don't think. We fight over the bathroom a lot of times, and it's never a big deal. I don't know if you would even call it fighting, just bickering.
Okay, anything else that you can think of?
No, nothing I can think of.
Okay, so other than the A on your exam, is there anything else positive or good that happened this week that you should let me know about?
Well, as you know, I started jogging again a few times a week, and my time is increasing. I'm feeling a little stronger, like I am regaining some muscle. Oh, and my mom and I went shopping at the mall together. We haven't done that in a while.
That's great. Anything else you can think of?
Nothing that comes to mind, no.
Sounds like you're making progress with the techniques we did in session last week and that you were supposed to be practicing at home.
Yeah, that seemed to make me feel better jogging and spending time with my mom.
Joe, from what you're saying, it sounds like you're doing really well. You're starting to do things that you love and spend time with your mom, which is really important to you. Can we now review your homework?
Sure.
So, you had identified that you really wanted to start running again. We discussed that due to your significant weight and muscle loss, that this may need to be a gradual process. We had agreed that you would start out with a slow jog 2 times a week and record your progress. Is that right?
Yes.
So, can I see your progress in your log this week?
Mhm.
So, okay, looking at your log, can you tell me how you think that it went?
Well, at first it was we're jogging again, but after I started, I was able to jog 2 times this week, and it felt really good.
Joe, that is amazing, and it appears from your depression inventory that although you have been feeling a little bit more anxious this week and still a little down, it seems to me that your depression has been decreasing. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, I did feel less depressed this week. I do not think I would have felt so anxious if I knew that what was going on with college. I want to go to the University of Pittsburgh and haven't received any acceptance letters yet.
Okay. Did you receive any denial letters this week?
No.
Okay. So it sounds like even though you were anxious this week, that you were also able to use the controlled breathing and relaxation techniques we practiced and learned last week in session.
Yes. And it helped me at bedtime when I was trying to fall asleep, but not so much during the day.
Okay, Joe. I think this is an excellent time to start to prioritize the agenda so we can figure out how we should spend our time today. You mentioned a fight with your boyfriend, having trouble sleeping, being late for school, an argument with Matt, although you did identify that that might not have been so much a fight, but maybe just some bickering, some anxiousness around your exam, and not receiving any acceptance letters to any colleges. Does that sound right?
No. I mean, yeah, I guess it does.
Are you
Yeah.
okay? So, have any of these things really been standing out to you this week as a problem, or is there something else?
No, there isn't anything else. I've been feeling the most anxiousness and hopelessness around college, not receiving any acceptance letters. The fight with my boyfriend was also a pretty big deal, but it had to do with the school issue too.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about today?
No, I think that's all.
Okay. If you can think of something, we can add it later to the list. I hear you saying that your feelings of anxiousness around school in the fight with your boyfriend is really what is bothering you right now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is.
Do you think that those should be the first things on our list?
Yeah, those are the important ones.
Okay, we will start with your feelings of anxiousness around school. What do you think should be next on the agenda?
Probably the fight with my boyfriend.
Okay, so we'll start with your feelings of being anxious about school and move on to the fight with your boyfriend. We might not have time to discuss all the things on your list today. So, do those sound like those should be the ones that we should concentrate on? Your anxiousness around your acceptance to school and your fight with your boyfriend. And then if we have time, that we can move on and talk about the other things or talk about them next week.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, let's look at the agenda. Where do you think we should start? We could talk about your anxiousness around school. Does that sound like a good place to start?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Can we go back earlier to this week? And can you kind of remember when your feelings of anxiousness really started this week?
I guess it started when Matt got his acceptance letter from Ohio State.
Okay, so Matt got his acceptance letter in the mail.
Yeah, and my parents went on how proud they were of him.
And when that was happening, what were you thinking?
That I probably won't get into school.
And when you were thinking, oh, I probably won't get into school, what were you feeling? Do you remember?
I don't really know.
Okay, well, I'm going to do an exercise with you to try to see if we can try to remember how you were feeling, okay? Okay, so let's shut our eyes. Now go back to that day. You're at home with Matt and your parents, and the mail comes. And Matt gets his letter in the mail. And he opens it up, and it's an acceptance letter to Ohio State. And he was probably really excited, and your parents were really excited, and they were probably making this big deal and fussing all about him, about how proud they are of him. And you start thinking you're never going to get into school. Now try to remember, when you were thinking that, when that was going through your head, how were you feeling?
Well, I guess I was feeling quite anxious.
Okay, so you start feeling anxious. Do you remember what was going through your mind? Do you remember what you were telling yourself?
That I'm never going to college.
Okay, let's go further. What do you think would happen if you didn't go to college?
That I would have to live at home with my parents forever.
Okay, well, let's explore that. What do you think that that would say about you?
That I'm worthless.
All right, Joe. So you're feeling pretty anxious and a little down and worthless about the possibility of not getting into school. What do you think the likelihood of that is of happening? On a scale of 0 to 100, with 0 being you will definitely not get into school, and 100 that you would, what do you think you rate yourself? How do you feel your chances are of getting into college right now?
I guess only about 15 that I will.
Okay, so you're pretty confident at this point that you won't get into school.
Yeah, I just don't think I have done well enough to get into school.
Okay, well, let's explore your thoughts of not feeling that you did good enough to get into school. Joe, have you ever made a list of evidence supporting your thoughts?
No, not really.
Okay, so what we're going to do is do an advantage and disadvantage analysis of your thoughts. But instead of using the words advantages and disadvantages, we're going to do evidence supporting and evidence against your thoughts that you didn't do well enough to get into school. And then we're going to do another list of evidence against your thoughts that you did not do well enough to get into college. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the process or what we're going to be doing?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to write the list down on paper and make a graph. I think you'll find writing down the lists will make them clearer and hopefully will make you feel better about your thoughts. So let's start by using your notebook. We're just going to make two lists. We're going to make evidence supporting and evidence against. And what that is evidence supporting that I didn't do well enough to get into college. Right? Because that's really what you're feeling is that you didn't do well enough. Okay. So we'll start with your first list here. Here's your notepad. Here's your paper. And I'll have you do the lists. So, do you have any evidence supporting that you didn't do well enough to get into school?
Well, my grades have been bad the last couple of months.
Okay, so your grades have been bad. Can we write that down on your evidence supporting that you didn't do well enough to get into school? Okay. Is there anything else?
Hmm, I don't know. I submitted my applications late.
Okay, so you submitted your applications late. You think we should write that on the list?
Hmm, I guess.
Okay, so let's write that on your list. Anything else that you can think of?
Um, I guess I was hoping for a scholarship for basketball, but I quit playing.
Okay, well, let's write that on your list. Okay, is there any other evidence you can think of to support that you did not do well enough to get into school?
Hmm, no, nothing I can think right now.
Okay, well, if you think of something, we can add it to the list later. So now let's look at some evidence against your belief that you did not do well enough to get accepted to college. So, do you have any evidence against that you did not do well enough?
Hmm, I did well in my SATs.
Okay, great. Let's write that on your list for evidence against your thoughts. Okay. Anything else you can think of?
Well, before I started doing badly in school, I had been an honor student.
Okay. Let's put that on our list. What else?
Um, hmm. I did well in my application essay.
Great. Let's add that to your list. So is there anything else that you can think of that evidence against that you did not do well enough in school?
My interview at the university went well, and well, they said that my application looked promising.
Great. Well, let's add that to your list then. Joe, that looks like a great list. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Nothing that I can think of.
Anything else that came to mind, evidence supporting?
Nothing in my head.
Okay, great. Okay, so now let's read your first list, your list of evidence supporting that you did not do well enough to go to school.
I got bad grades, applications were late, and I quit basketball so I couldn't get a scholarship.
Okay, so now let's read your other list with evidence against your belief that you did not do well enough.
I got good SAT scores. I was an honor student. My application essay was great, and my interview with the university guy said that application looked really good.
Okay, great. Our lists look really good. The important thing about writing lists down is that it helps us look more clearly at our thoughts and what's really happening. So now, next what we're going to do is we're going to rate each of the items on your list from a scale from 0 to 10 of their importance. Or we can circle the ones that you feel are most important. Which way would you like to go?
Start with the evidence against not going to school.
Okay, so do you want to circle the ones that are most important, or do you want to rate each one of them individually?
I think I'll rate each one individually.
Okay, so looking at the list so far, so for the first list, your grades have been slipping the last couple months. On a scale from 0 to 10, with 0 not being important and 10 being the most important, what would you rate that?
I'd rate it probably a 1 or a 2.
Okay. Which do you think, a 1 or a 2?
I'll say 2.
A 2? Okay, so let's write 2 beside low grades. How about the fact that you submitted your application late?
Um, uh, hmm. I think that is probably pretty important, so I think an 8.
Okay, write an 8 beside the answer. And how about the basketball scholarship?
Well, I guess it doesn't really affect whether I get accepted to school or not, so I guess I'll write 0.
Okay, great. So now let's look at your other list, your evidence against that you didn't do well enough to go to school. Using the same scale, 0 being that it's not important, and 10 being that it's very important. So what would you rate your SAT scores on a scale from 0 to 10 as evidence that you will get accepted to college?
I think maybe a 8 or 9.
Okay, so what do you want to rate it, an 8 or a 9?
I think an 8.
Okay, well let's put an 8 then beside our SAT score. Okay, what's next on your list?
That I was an honor roll student when I turned in my transcripts for school.
Okay, so what would you rate your grades from your transcripts for evidence supporting your acceptance to school?
Probably a 6.
Okay, well let's write 6 then on the list beside honor student.
Okay.
Okay, what's next on our list?
My application essay was good.
Okay, so what do you think you would rate your essay as evidence to support your acceptance to school?
I think that it was pretty important, so a 9.
Okay, great. Do you have anything else on your list?
The application was good.
Okay, so how much do you think that that supports the evidence that you'll get accepted to school?
I don't know. Probably only about a 4, maybe.
Okay, well let's put 4 beside on the list beside your answer. Okay, so now let's look at your whole list again.
Okay.
What does the list tell you?
That I might have the wrong idea about not getting accepted to school.
Joe, now after exploring the evidence, comparing your lists, and looking at the scale of measuring your anxiety and feelings, supporting evidence that you will not get accepted to school, and using the same scale from 0 to 100, with 0 being that you will not get into college and 100 that you will, what are your feelings now? How likely do you think that you will be accepted to school?
I would say about 90%.
Joe, that is great. How are you feeling about being accepted to college?
I feel much better. I really think that I was looking at this problem completely wrong and freaking out because Matt has already received his acceptance and I haven't.
Okay, so how are you feeling now about the problem?
That it really isn't a problem. I really think that everything will work out okay.
Great. I'm glad that we were able to figure this out. So can we figure out and work on what our tasks for next week are going to be?
Sure.
Okay, let's write them down in your assignment notebooks so we don't forget. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, so what do you think we should work on between this week and next week?
Well, I can keep jogging. I really enjoyed that.
That's great. It really seems like the jogging helps decrease your depression. So would you like to continue jogging 2 times a week, or do you think you want to add a day?
I think I'll add a day, go 3 days.
Okay, so let's write that on your notebook of list of things to do. Anything else that you can think of?
I really like the controlled breathing and muscle relaxation techniques. I think I want to continue to practice those at home.
Yes, you did mention that they did help you with your sleeping this week. So why don't we write those in your notebook and we'll continue to work on those for next week.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you can think of that we should be doing?
I think continue to log my eating.
Yes, that would be great. So far, you're going to increase your jogging to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Continue using the controlled breathing and muscle relaxing techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And logging your eating.
Yes.
Do you think we can do one more thing this week?
Sure.
If you start to get anxious again this week about being accepted to college or anything else, do you think that maybe you can do the advantage, disadvantage analysis that we did today in session during the week on your own?
Yes, I think I can do that.
If you forget or it doesn't happen every time, that is okay. So is there any reason that you can think of as to why you might not be able to do any of these tasks?
Well, if I get too anxious or depressed.
That's okay. We know that this might occur, and we can explore that next week if that happens, okay?
Okay.
Great. So for next week, we're going to continue to jog, use the controlled breathing and relaxation techniques, continue to do your food log, and we added the advantages and disadvantages analysis to support or find evidence against thoughts that might cause you distress. Is there any scenarios that you can think of that you might need to use the analysis this week?
Well, I do have an exam this week and do not think I will do well on it.
Okay. Do you want to start the analysis now?
Okay.
Okay. Well, why don't you write your 2 lists? Why don't you make a list, paragraphs, on our paper? So you might start feeling anxious about not completing your exam or studying for your exam. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you then to put evidence supporting why you think you will do well on your exam and evidence supporting why you won't do well. Can you come up with a couple of things?
Definitely have to study.
Okay.
But maybe I'll get too unfocused on it, about worrying about tomorrow.
Okay, can we put those on your list? Do you think you have a good start on the task?
Yeah, I think I got it down.
And if you can't?
That it is okay, and we will discuss it next week.
Yes, that's exactly right. So, Joe, today we worked on eliciting evidence to support and finding evidence against your feelings of not being good enough to get accepted to school. It appears from your response that this activity helps decrease your anxiety and down feelings around not being good enough to be accepted to school. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Great. So, Joe, do you think how do you feel the session went today? Anything that upset you or anything that I got wrong?
No, I am a little worried that I will continue to be anxious.
Well, Joe, that is a possibility. If you find yourself that upset that you can't handle what's going on, you can always call me and we can always discuss how you're feeling and find ways to handle that. If not, you can continue to use the controlled breathing and muscle relaxation techniques that you know how to do and try to use the advantages and disadvantages analysis worksheets that I provided for you. We can always talk about anything you are struggling with during the week at the next session. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes, that makes me feel much better.
Anything else about the session that I should know?
Just that it really helped me feel better.
That is great, Joe. We will continue to work on your tasks and problem during the future sessions. Anything else?
No.
Okay. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next session.
Okay. See you.